Let's also talk about why women should walk away from this religion, from this book, from the Bible. Women should really walk away from this book because this book does not like you. It does not favor you. But I find that women are the strongest advocate of this religion. I know I did a video about a year ago when I was talking about the situation with what was it? With, and I used the wrong story name, but of course it was Job. And I still get people to this day trying to correct me and say, it was Job, it was Job. Okay, yes, it was Job. All right, we got it. It was Job. But let's look at some of the reasons as to why this book does not like women. And I'm going to reference, if you go to a page called Really Did You Know? And on the page, Really Did You Know? She talks a lot about weddings and some of the different things that and other colloquialism or things that we do that don't make sense and where they originated from. So really, did you know on the platforms? Go and check that out. Her page is a growing page. Just got started not too long ago, but it's a great page for you guys to link up on. The thing about it is, one of the things that she talked about in the wedding situation was the fact that the bride and the groom do not see each other the day before. And this is something that I just experienced because I just got back from a wedding. And there was another wedding yesterday, but just got back from two weddings over the weekend. But anyway, the thing is that we have that tradition, right, of the bride not seeing the groom, and we just see it as a superstitious thing. But when you go back and look at it, it is not just superstition. It is the way that men treated women, and they based it on their book. Now, you're not going to find in your Bible where it says that the bride and the bridegroom should not see each other prior to, and the reason why she wears the veil. But she wears the veil, and they don't see each other because most marriages were arranged. Women didn't have the option of choosing their husband, and according to this Bible, women were sold off to their husbands. They had to be negotiated. The father and the bride, and the two fathers, or the father and the groom, would negotiate a price for the girl, because she was merely just property. That's how women are viewed in the Bible. They are property of the father, then they become property of the husbands, and they are only good for the ability to produce sons. That's their that's their validity, that's their worth, their value. We know that that is not true today, but that is how men in this Bible views women, that you are just property and nothing more. When you look at stories that dealt with, who was it? I got Job on the brain, but it's not Job, but it's Jacob, not Jacob, Abraham, Isaac. So it was Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. So yes, it was Jacob. So Jacob, as you know, the story goes, he was sent off by his mother to go to their relatives so he can find his cousin and marry his cousin. He wanted to marry Rachel, but the father knew that he would struggle to get anyone to purchase his older daughter, Leah. And he tricked Jacob after working 7 years into marrying Leah. And oftentimes I wonder, how did he trick him? Well, in the wedding process, there's a lot of drinking that's going on. So you get drunk, basically. And then you go into the chamber, the bridal chamber, and y'all, and they have sex. And sex is the culmination of getting married. You're now married. All the ceremonies and stuff don't mean shit. It is actually having sex that makes you married. Well, the women would wear a veil, so you didn't necessarily see your wife until after the fact. And after he had sex with Leah, they said, they were married. And then he tricked him to work another 7 years so that he can have Rachel. So Rachel had to be bought with his labor. Why? What is so indifferent about women in addition to them being property in that story? The reason why the father felt that he could not marry off Leah is because Leah had a lazy eye. When you read the story, it tells you that Leah had a lazy eye. So she wasn't deemed as being attractive. And basically this Bible is saying that if you are a woman and you're not attractive, then you cannot fetch a wage to be purchased by a man to become his wife. So he had to trick Jacob into marrying Leah because she had a lazy eye and she wasn't that attractive. So women, not only are you validated by your ability to provide sons, but you're also validated, or in this case, invalidated, because your attractiveness. Now he tried to use the excuse, well, the oldest is usually married off first, and that is true. The oldest is usually married off first, but he made sure it was Leah because she had that lazy eye. He snuck it off. If that was the case, if it was just about the oldest daughter, then in the beginning of the story, he would have went ahead and said, "No, I can't give you Rachel, but who I can give you is Leah." And if Leah was attractive, then Jacob would have been like, fine. But he knew that with the lazy eye, that he didn't want to marry Leah. Remember when he first saw Rachel, he was like, damn, she's fine, she's beautiful, I'm in love, I'm in love. But he didn't say the same of Leah. Now, Leah produced more children for him than Rachel did. And of course, in the baby race, Leah also had a slave handmaid provide him children, his slave wife, as well as Rachel did the exact same thing. So, which is an interesting point, that many of the tribes of Israel comes from the woman of a slave wife, and they do not come from Rachel or Leah, but a slave wife. So your heads of tribes of Israel were slave children who were forced to marry and have sex with this man because the two primary wives were having a baby race. But these are just some of the things that just invalidate this book towards women. And although some people may say it's not a big deal, it is a big deal, because look at how we treat women today. We treat women, if they do not look good, if they're not attractive to us physically, then they don't have value. In the same way that if a man doesn't have cash, it loses his value as far as women are concerned looking at a man. So they have basically said in this book, your character is not what gives you value, but it is your looks, your finances, and your ability to provide children. That is what determines your value as far as having a relationship. And these relationships were business contracts. These weren't relationships that were born out of love for the person and who they are as a person. So women should really walk away from this book, because it does not like you at all. Even when Jacob's daughter, the only one they mentioned, Dana, was sexually violated by a man, he only wanted to marry her because he knew it would create war. And then they used that excuse and told them to get circumcised, and all the men in their village get circumcised. And then they came in and killed all of them and never allowed for their sister to marry this man, who is the only man that could have married her after she's been violated. Because you women, if you're not a virgin or you've been violated, you hold no value to the men who wrote this book, because they was writing it based on their culture. So I hoped that women would free themselves to be themselves, because your greatness, I love me some women, is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.